survive, and advance. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, one thing.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the January 14th, 2025 supplemental edition of RamView, brought to you by the Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Yes, it's about 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. We've got folks from Indonesia, Costa Rica, and Denmark that usually watch us. And I do not mean to throw you guys off. This is an extra show. We don't usually broadcast on Tuesdays. But I didn't want to wait 2 days before coming back and talking about last night's Ram win. We will be on again Wednesday at 5, and of course everything else stays on schedule. But we just wanted to get on the air, do a short little bit review. Everyone's talking about it. You've seen it. You've seen the breakdown of everything that took place yesterday or last night in Phoenix. And again, the Bidwells, wow, Bidwells stepped up for the Rams and the league, and so that was kind of cool to see. So lesson number one that I took from this thing is I don't think we ever have to stress again about the Rams benching starters in Week 18 again, right? As you were watching that game last night, didn't the Rams just appear more active, more ready, more twitchy, so to speak? And the Vikings looked like they had just come off a tough game against the Lions, right? And they looked a step slow. They looked a step off. And the Rams were pretty amazing last night. When you look at the stat sheet, the Vikings had more first downs, more total yards. Rams had 10 penalties to the Vikings too. There was stuff out there that showed you it wasn't perfect, but yet you don't always look at the stat sheet, right? And yet the Rams defense just showed up. The offense came out, did what it needed to do. Tyler Higbee looked great until he got knocked out. The offensive line did its job. Matthew Stafford is off the charts. But let me throw this out here first, before we go into all the breakdowns. Not counting Week 18 when the starters sat. Chris Shula's defense. Remember Chris Shula? Chris Shula was the guy that right here I fielded questions. I saw in Rams media everywhere. We were talking after week 2, not we, but there was talk out there. Oh, the Rams made a mistake. You can't hire your friend as a DC. And now Chris Shula's defense has surrendered less than 10 points for the 4th time since giving up 42 to Buffalo. We're not counting the 30 that Seattle scored last week because the starters played like 10 snaps, but they held the Vikings. Sam Darnold was talking MVP stuff. They're talking major contracts with Sam Darnold. Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson back, and that guy. Oh, yeah, Justin Jefferson is out there. And Rams played Justin Jefferson twice this year, and he didn't hurt us. Chris Shula's defense was fantastic. Fantastic. Also, something else that may not be talked about, but we've talked about it here for a few weeks now. In the 2024 draft, the Rams took Jared Verse at 19. The Vikings took Dallas Turner out of Alabama at number 17. You think Minnesota would like a do-over on that? Turner played 8 snaps last night. 8 snaps. 2 slots later, the Rams took Verse, and Verse took it to the house last night on a scoop and score. Verse didn't get a sack last night, right? Maybe we should fine him for not joining the party, but his teammates did. The Rams registered 9 sacks last night. We also talked about how in Ram playoff games against the Vikings, the problem has always been the offense. In 7 previous games, 5 won by the Vikings, the Rams defense had totaled 19 sacks. Last night, the Rams had 9 sacks. So that's 28 sacks in 8 playoff games against the Vikings. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Omar Spates, they got clicks out of Mr. Irrelevant, DeJuan Johnson. Neville Gallimore justified the Rams' faith in keeping him around. This was very impressive across the board. And then you go to the secondary, and Quentin Lake. I'm happy every play Quentin Lake makes last night, but I'm also thinking, oh man, I'm getting nervous about Quentin Lake because he has to force the Rams to rethink their business model of not giving a second contract to a safety. He was fantastic at the line, in the secondary, everywhere. Quentin Lake is a lot like his dad, Carnell Lake, and I think the Rams, they really do need to think about rethinking that safety policy there. The Cams, Curl, and Kitchens were amazing. Think where they were struggling those first few weeks of the season and where they're at now. Kobe Durant, who kind of lost his job to Akilla Witherspoon. I think it was because Witherspoon was just playing so well, and Durant gets a sack and a pick in the first half there. Again, we also talked about the show on Tuesday. On Monday, we talked about different blitz schemes or pass rushing schemes that Shula's pretty creative, and the Rams were pretty creative last night. You had Durant getting the sack. You had Akilla Witherspoon getting in there and punching the ball away against Sam Darnold that led to the scoop and score. Darius Williams played solid. Akilla Witherspoon went out with a hammy. That's a little nervous going into next week, but by and large, the defense was amazing. And the Rams defense was playing so well. And as much as the offensive line for Minnesota was struggling, which we talked about, I can't understand why Kevin O'Connell decided to go for it on 4th and 2 at midfield with less than 2 minutes to play in the first half. It's 17-3. You get the ball to start the second half. You know what? Let it ride, pal. Let it ride. Someone did their homework. Someone had to do their homework. Have you seen the Rams on 4th down the whole back half of the season? All the stops they've been getting on 4th down, and they went for it, and Darnold got sacked, lo and behold. And that immediately led to the touchdown pass that Matthew Stafford threw to Davis Allen. And it wasn't the same after that, was it? Every time the Rams have lost to the Vikings in the postseason, it's been because of the offense. All right, we do have some visitors today. I didn't know we would. And sure enough, we got them. Thanks, guys, for joining us at this time. Win, baby, Tim Burns. There you go. Steve Ramirez. Cooper Kupp is Phil Elliott. He's still got the best hands in the business. Micah Gutierrez, how about those Rams? Peo time. Happy Victory Tuesday. Watching you while at work. Well, thank you, Peo. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. We do got to connect still, brother, down the road. Tim Burns, 11 Rams involved in a sack, 8 Rams with a quarterback hit, 8 with a tackle for loss. Amazing. Tim Burns, after that sack, Stafford wasn't quite the same. I thought McVay spoke about it, that they kind of scaled things back knowing they had a large lead. And he said, you're playing the clock as much as anything else. I was really pleased on that drive that got torpedoed by so many, penalties that the one on Whittington was a joke. The other ones, Davis Allen and the other ones they called, I understood. But I was glad they stayed on the ground. It was all about killing clock. It was a numbers game. What I didn't understand was you're down 27-3, you score a touchdown, kick the field goal, kick the extra point, right? And make it 27-10. That way you just need 2 touchdowns, 2 PATs, and a field goal. But when they missed it, even with 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions, they still needed a field goal. I thought they mismanaged that there, but I was pleased with it. Tim Burns, I am done with Higbee getting a spot on roster. Guy is healthy 7 quarters and has gone a month. Over him. Great when healthy, rarely healthy. I'm sitting here with Dwayne Barker from Mid-Valley Sports last night, and you see the one-handed catch he made on that opening drive. And, okay, that's a catch Tyler Higbee made. But the other ones, it was kind of interesting. It's like, it wasn't like he was incredibly open or ran some incredible route. It's like, why can't Davis Allen do that? Why can't Colby Parkinson do that? And I was glad Davis Allen got that touchdown at the end there, at the end of the first half. But something about Tyler Higbee, I think the team, he's good mojo. But I do think he's closer to the end than to the beginning. And he can still play, but he breaks down a lot easier. Maybe a little bit like Cooper Kupp in that regard. Tim Burns, Lake was burned often, but was a difference maker when needed. That hit out of bounds, I can still hear the pop. Hey, no one talks bad about Quentin Lake on my show, man. USA expat, beating the Vikings in the playoffs is extra special. Yep, it is. Especially when you think about the Rams are responsible a bit for the Lions. Not because of the trade and Jared Goff, but Brad Holmes comes from the Rams. And the Rams are responsible for the Vikings because Kevin O'Connell comes from the Rams, and the Rams are beating the teams and competing with the teams that they're very familiar with. And then, of course, going back to being a kid, absolutely USA expat. Tim Burns, there are 3 reasons Kupp doesn't get targets: injured, they hate him, or he can't catch. He showed he can catch. He is Kupp, so it's health. I believe it's health. I do. There's it's just there. He's not getting separation anymore, and also there's Kupp who can catch the ball, and then there's someone who's wide open, and he's going to Nakua. And so that's where the Rams are at there. But it's winding down for Cooper too, right? And he's not going anywhere. He's making 27 rocks, I think, next year. And unless he decides to retire, either way, the Rams are on the hook there. So they're going to need some help with him. Neil Gonzalez, Rams 100% great game, but I hope they don't play conservative in the second half against the Eagles. We're going to need all the points we can get. Go Rams. There's some truth to that. It's going to be a different vibe there in Philly. It's going to be a real different vibe. Jose R. Kupp turned on the Jets, made a great catch. Nobody understands what's going on. Yeah, I do believe, Mr. Burns, I do disagree with you on one thing. I do believe Stafford was going to Kupp on that play and had every confidence in him that he was going to make that catch. And so I guess we'll find out when the season's over. But he's out there and he's blocking. He's still taking reps and snaps. Interesting enough, he's out there playing and we think he's hurt. We think something's not right. But Tutu Atwell played 1 snap last night. 1 snap. Tim Burns, Rams will pay him even if he doesn't restructure, and he likely will. USA expat, Kupp would be a great assistant wide receivers coach for us next year. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Okay, let me get back to the offense here. Did not expect you guys to be on with me. All things are possible with Matt Stafford, right? Everything's possible with Matt Stafford. That throw he made under pressure and got that ball to Hunter Long was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. I talked about Tyler Higbee and the one-handed catch, which was amazing. But he only played 12 snaps. Parkinson, Davis, Long. I think they're good enough to get us down for the rest of the season. And Higbee ended up going to the hospital. So what is his availability next week? Offensive line, I thought they did a pretty good job. Limmer had a couple of struggles there. He got beat on a couple of rushes. Dotson got beat once. Rams gave up 2 sacks. Those are the first 2 sacks they've given up since week 13 in New Orleans. But Rams gave up 2 sacks. Vikings gave up 9. And overall, PFF gave a better grade to the Vikings offensive line than they did to the Rams. Go figure that one out. Another thing I wanted to ask was, I was curious when the whistle blown when Bo Limmer got hit with that personal foul penalty. I was curious because the play was still going on and no one really investigated that. I was kind of curious about that one. Also, another one that kind of surprised me a little bit was when the Rams went long to Hunter Long on that play and Harrison Smith was in coverage. Joe, Troy, nobody said a word about Harrison Smith making contact with Hunter Long and never turning his head to locate the ball, right? And everyone, I'm glad the Rams made it a moot point, but we can only imagine the fallout if that had been a close game last night on Matthew Stafford throwing that ball away. I mean, it was a smart play, but man, it was risky. You had to hope somebody was going to see you pushing it out. And that one was a bit nervous. Special teams, how did the Vikings miss that punt block? I have no idea. Ethan Evans is an all-pro. He is the descendant. He is the direct DNA of Johnny Hecker in his prime. And Josh Carty, right? Josh Carty continues to gain trust. Okay, let me work through some questions here, and then we're gonna wrap this thing down because we've got stuff to do. Tim Burns. Oh, sorry. Tim Burns. Refs were sus, and I don't usually question refs. So I question refs all the time. What I question is replay assist. When does it count and when doesn't it count? When does it matter and when doesn't it matter? When do we do it and when do we not do it? Payo Time, Canadian Rams fan. What do you think about the Rams' fearsome 2024 when they face the tush push next game? That tush push is really hard to stop. So I think I shared this earlier this year, and someone thought, wow, for a pastor, that's kind of mean. But my feeling is they're going to get that yard. If it's less than a yard, they're probably going to get it, right? I think we've seen it stopped once this year. So what I would do if I'm the Rams is I would smash into that offensive line. I would deliver punishment after punishment. And then if it's inside the one in a goal-to-go situation, you can't go off sides and give them a touchdown. You got nothing to give up. So I would jump the snap and just start making them pay every time they line up and do it. Make them physically punish them for lining up in that position. It doesn't mean you're always going to stop them, but we all know if you played basketball when you were younger, you come down the paint, you're going to get hit. It used to be the old days in football. You go across the middle, you're going to get hit. There's just things you knew. You crowded the plate in baseball, you're going to get hit or get chin music or something. You know it's going to happen. And if they line up in a tush push situation and say it's in a goal line situation where they're inside the one, I'm jumping the snap and I'm hurting the center and I'm pushing back into Jalen Hurts. Make them feel it when they line up in that maybe they might not want to do it all the time, right? But I'd like to see us keep them out of that situation. Regarding Philly, real quick here, guys. Yes, Philly blew out the Rams. That was a blowout. It was 37-20. It was 37-14 at the end. But I will say this. The Rams made it 20-14 with 10:55 to play in the third. And up until 6:22 was left to play in the third, it was still a 20-14 game. Just throwing it out there for what it is, right? So, of course, next week the Rams have a shot. I don't think Jalen Hurts is that much better than Sam Darnold, but his offensive line is. His offensive line is. If the Rams get more than 2 sacks next week, I will be surprised because that's a great offensive line. But if Philly plays the way they played against Green Bay, the Rams are going to beat them. The Rams are going to beat them. And here's the thing. Philly's just not right in the head. I don't trust Jalen Hurts as a passer, not 100%. And his receivers. I mean, what was that, A.J. Brown doing that on the sideline? Nick Sirianni can have a meltdown. So the Rams have a shot. I think right now I'd have to pick Philly to win, but the Rams have a shot. And I've seen them go into Philly before, 1989. Rams went in there. Clyde Simmons was talking trash. Rams won 21-7 on the road in the vet, in the cold. So this is possible. And something that you don't just say they're going to win because they beat us badly, but the Rams have a shot. So I got to get these things in here, guys, because I've got to get to my day job as well. Let's see. Tribe, Joe, awesome win. Totally agree. Awesome win. Jose R., the Bucs stopped the tush push by grabbing Hurts from the top and pushing him sideways. Yeah, I think that was one of the times I saw it this year. They also got Via Veda right there, right? Or Via Veda. They got that beast there in the middle. But hey, everything's on the table here. Everything's on the table. I think starting 1-4, young team, I think we're kind of getting close to gravy mode. And what I mean by gravy is everyone counted the Rams out, right? Rams were counted out. Fire Chris Shula, right? Trade this guy, trade that guy. It should be a fire sale. And here they are. They won the division. They've won a playoff game. They have a chance. They have a chance to go to the NFC conference. And I think if I go back to August, I said, I think the expectation for this Ram team would be to make it to the NFC title game. I didn't guarantee them to win it, but I said, and we talked about it, that if they can get to the conference game, that would really be an upgrade and a great season. And so it's there. It's all there in front of them. We're getting close to that gravy mode where we just appreciate, wow, this is great. This is This is something we didn't expect and stuff. And the future is bright. As long as we got a quarterback, the future is bright. Put 9 in the box if you have to. No way Barkley could beat us again. I would make them beat us with Jalen Hurts, right? We saw what A.J. Brown did to Darius Williams in that game. Was it week 10, week 11? I can't remember which week it was. We saw that game, and that was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And but I'd rather take my chances in the secondary, having to trust Hurts to beat us rather than Saquon Barkley. So yeah, I'd load up the box. And again, this is the thing that the Rams still have that form of a too high shell, that Fangio business. But we've also seen Chris Shula not be afraid to modify and move things around. And I think they're going to do that against Philly. They're not going to do the insanity thing of trying the same thing twice. I think they're going to change things up a bit. And this is why I think and then of course the defense has supreme confidence now. The only problem is you're going against that offensive line, and that could be tough. Tim Burns, Jameis Juju, undefeated, all hail. There you go. Canadian Peo time. God bless. Maybe use the Rams in a sermon illustration this week. That's funny you say that. If I use the Rams in an illustration, everyone gives me a hard time. They say, oh, Pastor Joe, you're just talking about sports again. So that's funny. Okay. All right, guys. I do have to roll, and we got to go. I do appreciate you joining us on this quick show. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. If you could share this, that would be great. And we will see you tomorrow. God bless. Take care.